welcome viewers, thank you for joining me. We're doing our audit on the Watchtower Study Edition for November 2019. Build strong friendships. I think we've done about 50 videos, but that's okay. One of the powerful things I hope you're learning from this is that you can use other people's experiences to help people. You don't have to know everything yourself. And that's what referring people to others is all about. If somebody else can do a better job than yourself, just don't be frightened to share that. We're going to continue on, show loyal love. Now, this is going to be an interesting one for this organisation because loyal love cannot be able to include shunning, which is a horrible disposition within the human psyche that gets caused by thinking you need to put Jehovah above all else. And they've got it mixed up because the New Testament asks us to put people before all else. Love your neighbour as yourself. When you're deceived, this is an interesting point, when you're deceived and you're living a life of deception, what happens is you do begin to dislocate your priorities. You begin to fall into the religious trap of trying to build your life around the idea that you can impress God or stop him from being sad by the things that you do or don't do, which is a complete and utter deception. So I also want to apologise too. I noticed that in the Theological Audit I've put it down as Article 43, but it's actually Article 44, so please accept my apology for that typo. But again, please don't fall into this idea that you can put God before you, you've got to put him before all other things and the rest of it. It's a narcissistic way of looking at religion. It will produce narcissistic results, and unfortunately this is the reason why religion's got itself into the mess that it's in. If you've suffered from sexual abuse, please don't be frightened to contact the authorities in your area. Unfortunately, a lot of religious organisations, although that things are improving, will not report these pedophiles to the police. So please put your hand up, help yourself, help somebody else, and report these people that are using the religious organisations which are to bring good for their pursuit of bad. Right, let's turn to the article, Show Loyal Love. Well, we know the prophet Jeremiah didn't really prove himself to be a true friend because he sent Barak out to do his dirty work. He didn't have the courage to take his scrolls himself, so he got his scribe to take them to Jehoiakim and the other people that were opposing Jeremiah's message. Although the message was right, he didn't have the courage to take it himself. For instance, after the court official Ebed-Melech rescued Jeremiah from certain death in a miry cistern, Ebed-Melech feared that the princes would harm him. So there's a lot of fear and a lot of, it's not heroic stuff. It's life as it's being worked out stuff. Now, this could happen to people in the tribulation. The ripple effects of that for the Westerners will be that the goat nations that are trying to destroy Israel will oppose the sheep nations that are trying to save it. And the attacks between each country will have ripple effects on us, whilst the specific area of the attack will be Jerusalem. Unfortunately, in this case, the Allies aren't going to be able to save Israel, but the Lord Jesus Christ will come back himself and do that. Although Jeremiah was imprisoned, he did what he could by sharing Jehovah's comforting promise with his friend Ebed-Melech. Well, I don't know how he did that. Let's see what this says. I don't want to read all that, but apparently Jeremiah shared the message of Jehovah with Ebed-Melech. Now, what people have got to realise is religious scriptures and religious applications of the Bible and that don't fix everything. There's things, the Bible can't fix your car. The Bible can't fix your computer. The Bible can't fix you if you've been sexually abused and you need to get help from professionals. There's, as you'll see, a lot of the time I refer out my videos to people that know better than I do. Unfortunately, there's things that happen to us in life where we need more than the Bible to help us with that. Like the Bible can't help you with shunning, okay? They're talking about show loyal love. Well, the Bible can't help you with shunning because the people that are shunning believe that it's the Bible that's teaching them that, when that's absolutely opposite of what's going on. So today our brothers and sisters face a variety of challenges. I think one of the challenges is the amount of expectation the Watchtower puts on its followers. For instance, many suffer from natural or man-made disasters, which is just at the moment, you've probably seen it on television, just right out our doorstep. We've got bushfires of unprecedented scale happening here in New South Wales, Australia at the moment. And when that happens, some of us may be able to welcome these friends into our home, others may be able to help financially, but all of us can ask Jehovah to help our brothers and sisters. Well, anybody can do that, and even atheists turn to God in these times of hardship, asking God for help, and I'm sure where he can, he does. If we learn that a brother or sister is discouraged, we may not know what to say or how to react. Well, I think by this stage, unless they're talking to fresh Jehovah Witnesses, although even worldly people know how to help people that are discouraged. This is what I mean. It's infantile. This is very infantile. But all of us have much to offer. But that's true, isn't it? Everyone has something to offer to someone. For example, we can make time to be with our friend. We can listen sympathetically when he or she speaks, which is terrific advice, and we can share our favourite comforting scripture. Well, they had to bring that in, didn't they? I can remember, and I have to say this, when my grandmother, she had a heart operation, and we went in there and I read some scriptures, and when I was reading the scriptures, I just felt this isn't right. This isn't the place for this to be happening, and it wasn't. And I put it away, and it was more important for me to just hold Grandma's hand than get out the Bible and start all that. It just didn't sit right. We need to know when to do this and when not to. What matters most is that we are there with our friends when they are in need. And really, that's true. We try and put the Bible in situations where it just doesn't belong. And finishing this audit, we must be determined to build and maintain strong relationships with our brothers and sisters now. Why? Because our enemies will try to divide us by means of lies and misinformation. Well, I wonder who these enemies are. If they're talking about lies and misinformation, the society itself, the jw.org itself, is one of the primary liar and misinformer that the poor Jehovah Witnesses have. Let me prove that. I'll just finish reading this and we'll go to an article. But their efforts will be wasted. Well, not necessarily, because I think the jw.org's done a good enough job of lying and misinforming their followers way above anybody else. They will try to turn us against one another. Who? Who will do that? But their effort, what are they talking about? The people that are upset with the ones that shun? But their efforts will be wasted. They will be unable to break our bonds of love. Nothing they do will disrupt their friendships, the friendships we have formed. In fact, those friendships will last not only through the end of this system, but for eternity. And personally, viewers, I don't believe that to be true. I just want to show you one part of their lying, Michael the Archangel. And this is a really terrible way of trying to misinform someone. Where is Michael? I was reading about who is Jesus. Let's just have a look at that. Who is Jesus? Did I spell that right? Does Jesus really exist? Jesus, the way, the truth, and the life. They are viewers. Jesus, the way, the truth, and the life. Not the Watchtower organisation. Did I spell that right? Who is Jesus? I think they've got a brochure on that, haven't they? Who is he? That's right. And you go through this, I'm sure this is it, and you get right to the end. And somewhere in here it says, Jesus is Michael the Archangel. Well, he's not. But I challenge you to read this. I don't know if that's... Who is he? Yeah, well, he's not Michael the Archangel. That's all I'm going to say. So I'll let you go now. Thank you for joining me for this audit. I probably went a little bit overboard. I'm going to have to be very careful with this kind of thing because I do get too involved. But thank you for joining me. This is Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist, New South Wales, Australia. Bye for now.
Hello, welcome back to the Summer of Love Never Shuns. Jehovah's Witnesses are having their conventions this summer with the title Love Never Fails, and of course all of us who know the truth about the truth know what a hypocritical thing it is for them to try to talk about how great they are at showing love. Now, a couple weeks ago I made a video talking about friendships that I've made, some unconditional love that I've experienced in regards to getting to go on a birthday trip this year for my birthday, very first ever celebrated birthday. I thought it was a really cool story. But even so, I got a comment on that video. What does this have to do with shunning? So, you know what? If you want to hear a story about how evil shunning is, I got a story about that for you. And I think it's good to talk about in this video. Now, when talking about how evil institutionally mandated shunning is, of course it merits discussion about Watchtower's own teachings of whether or not they break up families. Now, of course, when you ask any Jehovah's Witnesses, they're never going to admit that Watchtower breaks up families. In fact, if you go on their website on jw.org, I think they even have a frequently asked question, do Jehovah's Witnesses break up families? And then you'll see in videos, you'll see in things that have come out, there's a really good example when Watchtower had to go in front of Canada's Supreme Court, and they actually were talking about, we don't shun people, they make the decision to leave the organization, and then family ties remain, it's only spiritual ties that are cut. But of course, any of us who have ever been Jehovah's Witnesses know it's a complete and total lie when they try to say that they don't break up families. Now, I have a story that I think just really well illustrates how you can take a parent who will go to an absolute extreme one way to take care of their child, but then they go the complete opposite extreme once that child decides to leave the organization. And I can think of no better story to tell than the story of my dad, my superhero dad. So to make a long story short, when I was at Warwick in 2016, I knew that I needed a car. I wanted to have a little bit of a sense of my own autonomy, and so I was looking around and I was able to find a car that I purchased, and long story short, that car just ended up being a total piece of garbage. But when I got kicked out of Bethel in November of 2016, I had this crazy idea to road trip, drive from Warwick all the way back to my hometown in Central Washington. And I had friends who were scattered throughout the United States, in North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Florida, Georgia. I was going to cut across, go south to Florida, cut across over to Texas, Oklahoma, Arizona, and then California, Oregon, back up north to Washington. And I was going to hit like 20, 25 states that I wanted to visit in about 3.5 weeks, 4 weeks. And so I had to do some work to get this car, at least, it wasn't going to be perfect, but it would get me home for, where I was going to get to go. But I had troubles with this car the entire time, pretty much. From the moment I left Warwick until I got home, that car was just nothing but a headache. But the absolute worst part of that journey actually happened in Big Timber, Montana. And so I was there visiting friends in Oklahoma, and I decided I was just going to cut out the rest of my trip. It wasn't worth it. I was just going to beeline to home. Looked up some routes, how to get from Oklahoma to Washington the quickest way, and it was to go north up to Montana and then shoot across. Once I hit I-90, it's pretty much a straight shot back to my hometown. So the first day, I go from Oklahoma all the way up to just right outside of Montana. I've been driving for 10 or 11 hours, and the road was starting to kind of go like this, and I was like, I better stop. It's probably not safe for me to keep driving. So I find a Motel 6, park, spend the night. I get up really early the next day and jet on over to I-90, and as soon as I get on I-90, it's like, this is a straight shot. I can get my way home. I don't even need GPS at that point. And so it was starting to look like it was going to be okay. I was going to get home that day, move on in life, whatever. At this point, it was the middle of December. There was snow on the ground, and it was really cold, but I was going to be able to get home without any issues, supposedly. So I start driving on I-90, and I get to this town called Big Timber, Montana. And I stop, I get some gas, and that fill up would have lasted me all the way home. And the wind and the weather was starting to be kind of whack. There was 60, 70, 80 mile an hour wind gusts that they said on the news that was kicking up snowdrifts, and the visibility was extremely low, high winds. It wasn't actually snowing, it was just the winds were kicking up a bunch of snow. And I looked at the weather reports, and it said if you can get past a certain point, you'll be in the clear. There won't be any more issues. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get back on the freeway. I can go slow. I just got to get past this little bit of whack wind that's going through here, and I can get home. So that's what I decided to do. I got back on the freeway, but visibility was just zero. I couldn't see inches in front of my car. The wind was blowing so bad, kicking up the snow. And so I'm thinking, okay, this was a bad idea. I'm going to pull off at the next exit, maybe find a hotel. I don't know. We'll see what goes on. What's going to happen. And right when I made that decision, it was too late. I couldn't see it, but there was some debris in the road, and I go to roll over it. And I'm just praying that nothing happens. But I hear a clunk clunk, and then a dragging sound on the ground. So what had happened is the debris on the road that I hit was just enough to... The gas tank on my car was barely being held on by the metal straps, apparently, and whatever I hit was enough to finally destroy those straps, and the gas tank fell onto the ground. And so here I am in high wind, snow kicking up everywhere, my hands are freezing, just desperately trying to jack up my car and strap up the gas tank so that I could just get off the freeway and find a hotel to wait this thing out. State patrolman actually came up, and he's like, "What are you doing out here?" And he drags me into his car, takes me to the nearest hotel. And I finally start to calm down. I'm calling my dad saying, what the heck do I do in this situation? And he's like, well, we got AAA, so call up AAA, see what they can do for you. And they were going to be able to come and get my car, but it's going to be like a 2 or 3 day wait. And so I ended up having to camp in this hotel for a couple days. And that's actually a whole nother story, again, about unconditional friendship and love you find with just non-Jehovah's Witnesses. And to make a long story short, what ended up happening was they got my car towed off the freeway, taken to a mechanic, and the mechanic said it was going to be like $1,000 in parts and labor, and it was going to be like 3 or 4 days before he could even get the parts. And so I didn't know what to do at that point. I was just completely shot. And so I called up my dad and my mom, and I was just telling them what was going on. And my dad's like, I'm going to come get you. And I said, no, don't worry about it. He's like, no, I'm going to come get you. I'll get off work tonight, I'll get the truck from Grandpa, and I'll come get you. So that's what he did. So my dad's a service plumber, so he works hard all day from 8 o'clock until like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, gets off work a little early, gets the pickup, and then he drives straight 10 hours from my home in Central Washington to where I was at in Big Timber, Montana. So my dad gets there at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and he's like, I'm shot, just let me lay down for a minute, get a little bit of sleep, and then we'll go get a trailer from the U-Haul, load up your car, and we'll get home. So that's what happened. Here I was in a desperate situation, probably the most dire situation I've ever experienced in my life, and my superhero dad came 10 hours overnight after working all day to come and rescue me. And I'm not a parent myself, but I'm given to understand that parental love that you have for your children is one of the most strongest things that you can experience as a human being. So the point of me telling this story is that here's an obvious extreme that my dad was willing to go to save one of his adult children when they were in a desperate situation. So you would think that he would have that same reaction to any other major event in his child's life. But when it came out that I no longer believed in the teachings of Jehovah's Witnesses, that was not the experience I had with him at all. In fact, the night that he and my mom sat me down to tell me that they were going to kick me out of the house, it was almost like he didn't even try. He said a couple of words, he tried to ascertain a couple of things, but you could tell that he was just acting like an elder that was defending the congregation. Here he was doing it in his family. And then over the course of the months since I've left my parents' house and have been moving on in my life, I've interacted with my dad twice now, and every situation that's how it's been, where you could just tell he's completely and utterly defeated with the fact that I'm gone. So I could tell you a little bit about the story of the conversation I had with my parents the night they kicked me out of their house. My dad starts with, because I guess the way he found out was that I had been dating a JW girl at the time, and she went and told the elders that we had been dating, but it was over, just let them know that what was going on, and that she was concerned about me because I had told her that I no longer believed in the teachings of Jehovah's Witnesses. So my dad starts off with, oh, I should give you a hug, when people have a breakup, it's usually a very difficult thing to go through. And then after that, he starts off with, well, she told us something that has me very worried, actually very, very, very concerned, very scared. And he's like, do you want to tell us anything? And I just flat out told him, I don't believe in being one of Jehovah's Witnesses anymore. And then the conversation that followed, it was what you'd expect from parents that learning that their children don't believe in the teachings of Jehovah's Witnesses anymore. he asked me why I didn't go to the elders or to him with my doubts, and I told him I didn't have doubts, I had major concerns. But we all know you're not allowed to have concerns with the organization if you want to remain a Christian in good standing. And he says, yeah, but you got to trust in Jehovah if you have things that are not quite clear. And I said, I'd rather have questions that I can't answer than answers that I can't. And he cuts me off and he's like, I don't want to hear your human thinking about about stuff. And then we were talking about how we were feeling and being heartbroken. And I said that, yeah, I know, I've been here when I've had friends who left being a witness, and I know how you feel. And my dad, again, he just cuts me off. He's like, you have no idea how I feel. Like, I would give my life for you to not feel this way anymore. And there it was again, where it was all just about him. And me leaving Jehovah was his worst scenario that he could even imagine, which I guess in his mind it is. And then at the end of the conversation, he just flatly says to me, he says, well, we love you, and you're always welcome at our house. As long as you're not disfellowshipped, you're always welcome at our house. But we can't continue to support you in this, and you need to find other living arrangements. And yeah, that was it. There was no fight. There was no begging me to stay with Jehovah. There was no begging me to. There was no trying to hear me out and listen to what I was thinking and feeling at the time. This is how it's got to be. And I'm the parent. I'm in the right. You're the silly wayward child, and get out of my house. And then I had one other major interaction with him. I actually made a video about it. I posted on my YouTube channel. The first take of that video, I couldn't stop crying, and then went to bed, woke up the next morning, and refilmed that video with me a little bit more level-headed. So I'll link that in the description to see my reaction with the last conversation I had with my dad. And that was the realization I had at the time, was that it's the parents of the children who are disfellowshipped or leave that really truly suffer. Because it's not ideal for me that I'm estranged from my parents, but life kind of moves on, and you learn to pick up the pieces and move forward. You make new friends and family. But my parents now, they're the ones who every day fret and worry over they have 2 sons now that are disfellowshipped or disassociated. And yeah. So talking about religiously mandated shunning just goes to show you how evil of a thing it is. Because, like I said, I'm not a parent. But everything I've ever heard from anyone who is a parent is that your entire life becomes your children when they're born. And for Watchtower to be an organization that has successfully gotten parents by the thousands, maybe even millions, who knows, to treat their children like they're dead, it just has to show you how evil of an organization the Watchtower is. So the current situation I'm sitting in, even though my dad, at one point in my life, came to rescue me in my most dire situation of life, now that I'm, in his opinion, in even a more dire situation, he's got to remain faithful to Jehovah above trying to save his child. So